Thank you for joining in as we celebrate the 17th Austrian Research and Innovation Talk. Count down with us to the ARIT 2020. Events like these, which celebrate Austrian scientific excellence in North America, are only possible with the support of partners such as the Austrian Federal Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs, the Austrian Federal Ministry for Education, Science and Research, the Austrian Federal Ministry for European and International Affairs, and the Austrian Council for Research and Technology Development. We are now ready for this year's Austrian Research and Innovation Talk. Please join us in welcoming Simone Pecha, the Director of the Office of Science and Technology Austria, who will lead us through today's celebration.
It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the Austrian Embassy in Washington, D.C. A warm welcome to ARIT 2020 from Austin, Washington, and from our collaboration partners. International science collaborations have been rising for many years now across the globe. Scientific collaborations are an important tool to help us tackle common problems that we have across the world. I'm thinking climate change, energy insecurity, population aging, and also health crises such as the current COVID-19 pandemic. Scientific collaborations are at the heart of science diplomacy. They're also at the heart of what we do at Austin, Washington. We build bridges of research and innovation for our stakeholders in Austria and in North America. Through RINA, the Research and Innovation Network Austria, we support Austrian researchers and innovators who are currently doing work in Canada, in the United States, and in Mexico. Many of these members are currently working tirelessly to do their part in helping us combat the COVID-19 crisis. They're working in their laboratories to develop therapeutics and vaccines. They're also working with policymakers and governments to develop safety protocols to save lives. For that, we're very, very grateful. Let me maybe give one example of a collaboration in that field. The University of Natural Resources and Life Sciences in Austria, die Bochum in Vienna, is collaborating very closely with an Austrian research team in New York at the Icahn School of Medicine at Mount Sinai Medical Center. They were one of the first teams that developed COVID-19 antibody tests that were available non-commercially. And they provided their research free of charge to the Austrian teams at the BOKU. Based on that collaboration, now the BOKU is providing highly pure antigens to researchers all across the world who are working on antibody tests and on COVID-19 research. It's an international information platform, if you will, that they're making available free of charge. The results of this international collaboration are excellent, and they're also showing scientific quality at the highest level. And that's what we're here today to celebrate. In the next 45 minutes, we're putting the word science in science diplomacy, and we're honoring the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation poster awardees, and we're celebrating the Astina Awards, the winners of the 2020 Asina Awards. With this, it is now my distinct pleasure to welcome Martin Weiss, the Austrian ambassador to the United States, the man who puts diplomacy in science diplomacy.
Dear Minister Fassmann, dear ladies and gentlemen, scientists, students, members of the science community, welcome to this innovative format of the ARIT 2020. This is of course a special year. We had to reinvent so many things, and this is, I think, a great addition to this reinvention. So welcome in this new format. Great to have you. This is the first time for me to say hello as Austrian ambassador. I started my job here a few months ago. science diplomacy is close to my heart. Actually, my first job when I came to the United States in 1992, the year of the Lord, 1992, I was a science attaché at the Austrian embassy. So this is at the very beginning of my diplomatic career. It continued to be part of my life as a diplomat when I was my last posting in Israel, a startup nation Israel, which was of course science, applied sciences, innovation was very much part of this job. So I know how important this is for Austria. I know how important this is for our science diplomacy. And thanks to say, we have seen the light as Austrians early on. The Office of Science and Technology is now since over 20 years part of the Austrian embassy. So we have really been a bit of a trailblazer, and I think we can be proud of this development. We see now in 2020 the importance of science yet again. Many scientists have kind of taken politicians by the hand. They try to guide them through this COVID pandemic, through this COVID crisis. I think this is something that kind of reinforces the importance of scientists and of course, the world turns to you scientists for help. We are all waiting for a vaccine, and actually some of you are directly involved in developing exactly such a vaccine, which could really be such a game changer for Austria, for the United States, for the whole world. So thank you all for being here. We have with our RINA, with our research network, we have really developed something that is a benchmark. Many other countries look at this and ask us, how did you do that? And frankly, if I talk to my ambassadorial colleagues, and I tell them, well, tell me which French scientist is currently working on the West Coast. They would actually not know, because a lot of this goes from scientist to scientist, from university to university. But we have realized that there is something where we can be an asset, we can be helpful, and we have created a network with now over 3,000 scientists all over the United States. So this is a benchmark we're very proud of. Many of you will be watching today. I wish you lots of success. I think this should be a great give and take. We try to keep it short, as I try to keep my remarks short and crisp. This should be a fantastic event. I wish you great luck for this and great success. And I'm very happy to now give the word to Minister Fassmann, who I had the pleasure of actually welcoming in Israel. And I know from my posting in Israel, and now I meet him here again in this virtual format. Minister Fassmann, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for being here.
Dear Ambassador Weiss, thank you very much for your kind introduction. Dear Austrian scientific community, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to welcome everyone to the Austrian Research and Innovation Talk 2020, the first to be held virtually. The ARIT is the most important conference to bring together Austrian scientists and researchers from all around North America. It offers an opportunity for exchange with the Austrian research community and a place to meet colleagues in the US, Canada and Mexico. I vividly recall my first participation as ministers 2 years ago and the experience of meeting the vibrant Austrian scientific community in North America. In times of social distancing, it is even more important to build on and cherish already established networks. An event like the ARIT depends very much on social interaction and of even more on the informal exchange over a good glass of wine or beverage of your choice. Therefore, I appreciate that the OSTA provides us with an online platform to keep up communication and exchange. 2020 has been challenging in many ways for all of us, and we do not know how the COVID-19 pandemic will further affect us in the upcoming months. However, it is crucial to keep on a positive spirit and to cooperate and collaborate in every possible way, even more so in the scientific area. We are here today to acknowledge all the efforts and achievements of the Austrian scientists who have worked tireless during the pandemic to continue to push the boundaries of science and to provide solutions for our pressing social challenges. Virtually or face-to-face international experience is of enormous importance for students and researchers, not only for advancing academic careers, but also for transitioning into the economic world. All of you are very valuable ambassadors for Austria, Austrian universities, and our higher educations and research institutions. I'm grateful that you stay engaged with the Austrian research communities during your stay in North America. I know that through our networks, Asina and RINA, you will continue to grow ties and foster research collaboration on both sides of the Atlantic. This event also provides the occasion to present the Asina Awards to outstanding young Austrian researchers and the junior principal investigator for articles published in top-rated international scientific journals. The award helps to promote the importance of international mobility for scientists and researchers. I'd like to congratulate our Asina Awardees 2020. I'm looking forward to meet you in person as soon as possible. Now I would like to hand over to Dr. Stefan Riegler, Head of Group for Research and Innovation at the Federal Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Fassmann. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome also on behalf of the Austrian Federal Ministry for Digital and Economic Affairs. The current COVID-19 pandemic demonstrates impressively that research and innovation, international cooperation and digitalization are crucial elements for solving global challenges. Excellent researchers and innovative companies are the key drivers for progress. That means in the current situation for finding new treatments, new medication and vaccines. Joining forces and cooperating internationally is crucial, now more than ever. For example, within the European Union Research Framework Programme, Horizon 2020, within the Eureka Research Network, and most certainly also within the Research and Innovation Network Austria here in the United States. Digital solutions become increasingly important for enabling home office and distance learning and also virtual events like the Austrian Research and Innovation Talk here today. I wish you a successful event and now hand over to Ludovic Gatzig, Managing Director of the Austrian Council for Research and Technology Development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stefan. So this year we have a digital version of ARIT, which is fine because in times of Corona this is the best way to do it. So the Austrian Council took a very important decision last year, not just to be participants as the last 16, 17 years, but as well to support ARIT financially and also in kind as a cooperation partner. And therefore, ARIT is a good forum, a best forum for exchange of entrepreneurs, students and researchers. And we will be happy to support it as well the next years. And we wish you a very successful forum this year. Thank you very much.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, let us celebrate science communication. The AUSTA Washington presents to you the ARIT 2020 Poster Session and Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Awards.
A lot of the information that you share publicly about the work you do every day is rooted in science communication. Science communication is an essential part of every researcher's work today. Without science communication, the world wouldn't understand the complex matters that you work on a daily basis. Science communication is also an essential part of the Austrian Research and Innovation Talk Poster Session and the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Awards. This year, for the very first time, we had a virtual platform for the voting. We had entries from a broad variety of fields. People from law shared their research, from neurology, from math, also from wind energy, for example, and a lot of other fields. The engagement, the public engagement and interest was very big. Over 1,200 individual votes were cast. That speaks to the excellence of the researchers, science communication, and of the posters and the pitches that were submitted. Now, the votes are tallied up. In order to help me announce who this year's winners are, I'd like to welcome our collaboration partners, the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation, who were sponsoring the awards, and the Austrian Science Fund FWF, who were helping us to determine the top 10 posters. Those two organizations, as we know, like to support evidence-based research not only in Austria, but also in North America. Together, we were able to provide this vital platform, this big platform for our Austrian researchers to showcase their research on. It is my true pleasure now to welcome Wolfgang Pietrich, the president of the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation.
Thank you very much, Simone. Now, we at the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation are acutely aware of the significance of fact-based science and research, evidence-based, particularly now in these trying times of a global pandemic. It is therefore that I thank you very much, our fellow Austrians in the American academic community, for your continued engagement, commitment, and your excellent work that you have done so far, and I'm confident will do in the future as well. Let me just tell you that the Austrian slogan, the Austrian Marshall Plan slogan, fostering transatlantic excellence, is more important and more relevant and pertinent today than it ever was. It is therefore that I would like to pass on now to our next speaker, Clement Tuchner, who is the president of the Austrian Science Fund.
Thank you very much, Wolfgang. It is a great pleasure to be with you today, albeit in a virtual capacity. FWF, the Austrian Science Fund, is the key funding organization for curiosity-driven research in Austria. As such, we set standards when it comes to fostering joint research across disciplines, institutions, as well as across geographic boundaries. With the ARIT poster session, we highlight the importance of transatlantic relations in research now for many, many years. FWF was responsible for the selection process. We received more than 20 submissions, and the top 10 poster abstracts were selected by an FWF jury. The jury based their vote on scientific quality, the presentation of the submission, and the significance of the research for its scientific discipline. That is, when all of you got the chance to vote for your favorite poster and video pitch through the online voting platform. These votes, together with those of a jury of rectors and vice-rectors of Austrian higher education institutions, decided this year's Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Award winners. With that, I would like to pass the word to Simone Pötscher from Oster, who will begin with the announcement of the winners of the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Awards.
Thank you very much, Clement. I'm super excited that I get to announce the first winner of the day for the third prize of the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Awards. We have a chemist who's focusing his research on bioorthogonal chemistry.
Bioorthogonal chemistry describes reactions that are biocompatible and can be performed in a biological media, such as a living system. We use quantum chemistry to understand and improve such reactions.
Dr. Denis Vatanak from the University of California, Los Angeles. Congratulations, you're the winner of the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Award of €1,000. Very well deserved.
In second place, we have a scientist who is focusing her research on nanoscale sensor networks.
Why is that exciting? Well, the reason for late detections of diseases like cancer is that current sensors can only detect them once they're manifested in the organs. Wouldn't it be great if we could detect and locate processes when they go wrong at a much earlier stage? That's where the bio-nanosensors come in.
Congratulations, Dr. Jennifer Simonian from the Georgia Institute of Technology. You are receiving the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation Poster Award of €2,000. Very well deserved.
Now, the winner of this year's Poster Award, and we're talking about €3,000, is a scientist in brain research from MIT. His focus is on spatial navigation of Alzheimer's disease.
To do this, we placed mice in virtual reality and taught them to find rewards relative to specific landmarks along a linear corridor. We used 2-photon calcium imaging to optically record the activity of hundreds of neurons simultaneously.
And my congratulations go out to Lukas Fischer, this year's winner.
Thank you. It is a real honor to receive this award. It was fun coming up with creative ways to showcase my research, and I'm glad it resonated with those of you who did. Having spent many hours figuring out how to make virtual realities for mice, I finally got a chance to use some of these graphical design skills outside the lab. Thank you to the organizers and the Austrian Marshall Plan Foundation, the Office of Science and Technology Austria and the Austrian Science Fund for making this virtual poster presentation possible during such challenging times.
I'm very honored to receive this award for my scientific work. This is a great achievement in these insecure times which were mainly characterized by working isolated from home. So sincere gratitude to the Marshall Plan Foundation and the Federation of Austrian Industry for financially supporting my research, and to my supervisor, Professor Akildis, for being such a great host and mentor. A big thanks also to my friend Bernhard for all the technical discussions whenever I got stuck. A big thank you goes to my partner, my family, and my friends for all the emotional support. Without all these people, such an achievement wouldn't be possible. Congratulations to my fellow awardees, and I wish you to stay curious and stay healthy. Thank you.
Thank you. I feel deeply honored to receive this great award. I want to thank the organizers and sponsors of the poster session and the ARIT 2020. Of course, research cannot be done alone. So I also want to thank our funding sources, my family for their great support, the HAL group members who were involved in these projects, and our amazing collaborators. And I want to thank you again for recognizing our work with this award.
Dennis, Jennifer, Lukas, amazing job, really well done. For those of you who want to take a look at the posters or at the video pitches again, please take a look at the website. The URL is posted below. Now, Ambassador Weiss mentioned in his opening remarks a little bit about the work that we do with RINA. For those of you who are RINA members, you know that we inform, assist, and connect those Austrians in North America who want to keep close ties with Austria and the Austrian science, technology, and innovation landscape. While much is different this year, the most important things to us at Aust are the same. That's you, the RINA members, the scientists and innovators. You're the ones who drive and motivate my team and me. You're the ones that we work hard to support, and we look forward to supporting you in the years to come. With this, it is now my distinct pleasure to pass the word to Dietrich Halbenberger, the president of Asina, our wonderful partner network. Dietrich is gonna guide you through the Astina Awards. And I have to say that I'm really glad to collaborate and to have once again the Astin Awards round out this year's ARIT. So now let's celebrate.
Hello, my name is Dietrich Halbenberger, and I'm the president of Asina, the Austrian scientists and scholars in North America. It is a great pleasure to welcome you all to this year's Astina Awards celebration. Although we probably would have preferred to meet up in person this year, the fact that we are able to celebrate these Astina Awards this year, even in this format, really speaks to the high quality of Austrian research and science being conducted here in North America. And to tell you more about these awards, I would like to hand over to Eva Schernhammer.
Thank you, Dietrich. Let me continue with a few words about the Astina Award beginnings. During my presidency of the Astina network, it was one of my biggest visions to establish an Asina Award to honor and showcase the incredible accomplishments of many of the Austrian scientists who work in North America. With the help of Dr. Stoklaska and sponsoring from the Federal Ministry of Science and Research, this dream was realized. On November 10, 2008, Federal Minister Johannes Hahn gave away the first 2 Astina Awards in the Austrian Academy of Sciences during the Start and Wittgenstein ceremony. Austrian award recipients have since then gone on to accomplish many great things. For instance, the very first recipient and also the youngest, Franziska Michor, is now group leader and full professor at the prestigious Dana-Farber Cancer Institute in Boston. And Anna Obenauf, recipient of the 2015 Young Scientist Astina Award, is now group leader at IMP in Vienna and was inducted into the Young Academy of the Austrian Academy of Sciences. As such, the Astina Awards remain a key catalyst for the career of Austrian scientists. And it is therefore now my distinct privilege and honor to extend my sincere thanks for their continued support to the Austrian Federal Ministry of Education, Science and Research. And as their representative, I hand over now to the Director General of Scientific Research and International Relations, Barbara Weidgruber.
Thank you, Eva, for your kind introduction. Dear RTI community in Austria and North America, dear participants, let me start with congratulating the Marshallplan Poster awardees for their outstanding work. And let's continue to celebrate. For more than 10 years, we have honored promising young researchers for their excellent scientific publication in North America with the Astin Awards, the Junior Principal Investigator and 2 Young Scientists Award, with support of Astina and the Austrian Science Fund. The number of outstanding applications was once again impressive and underlines the great potential of Austrian researchers working in North America. It is wonderful that we have 2 established networks to serve the Austrian scientific diaspora in North America. Astina, the peer-to-peer network supporting Austrian researchers through regional chapters with local networking events, the mentoring program, and representing their interests. And the Research and Innovation Network Austria, RINA, on the other hand, assisting Austrian researchers in innovator in all aspects of their career development in North America. Let me express my gratitude to the Astina chapter heads, the Astina board members, in particular Dietrich Halbenberger, the Astina president, for their continuous commitment to Astina and for promoting the award. A special thank goes to the whole Austria team, especially Simone and Robin for their energetic support. And we are grateful to the FWF for managing the challenging international peer review selection process and all the journalists conveying the research excellence to audiences in Austria and far beyond. Finally, I would like to thank all the Austrian researchers in North America. Thank you for your courage, your persistence, and your excellence in pursuing your international careers. I look forward to meeting this year's Astina awardees and all of you in person as soon as possible again. With this, let me hand over to Clement Tuchner, the president of the FWF. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Barbara. Let me start by pointing out the 1000 Ideas program, which FWF started to investigate future-oriented research with high scientific and transformative potential. With this program, we encourage risk-taking, fostering creativity, and facilitating high innovative research. I see that many of the researchers who submitted their work for the 2020 Asina Awards think along the same lines. I want to personally commend every single scientist who has submitted their work this year. The quality of submissions was exceptionally high. We are truly delighted to see the enthusiasm that is evident among the Austrian scientific diaspora. As in the past, Asina Award submissions have undergone rigorous scientific evaluation by an FWF jury. And with that, I'm eager to pass the word to Dietrich so we can find out who this year's winners are.
And now I would like to present the 2020 Astina Award winners, who will be introduced by members of our Astina network.
Hello, it's my great pleasure to introduce Daniel Schramk, who's currently an assistant professor at the Lunenfeld-Tannenbaum Research Institute at the University of Toronto, and he's receiving the Asina Junior PI Award for his work titled Rare Driver Mutations in Head and Neck Squamous Cell Carcinoma Converge on Notch Signaling, which was published in Science earlier this year. Throughout his career, Daniel was always interested in non-biased analysis or screening of genes that might be responsible for diseases such as cancer. He did his graduate work in the lab of Josef Penninger at the IMBA, where he did RNAi screens in Drosophila, and then also did RNAi screens in Elaine Fuchs' lab at the Rockefeller, where he did his postdoc. Now, as a PI, he used CRISPR technology to characterize a set of genes that are called long-tail genes. They're called long-tail genes because they've only been associated with cancer in a few patients. And it was not clear if these mutations that occur infrequently can actually be causal to cancer. So what he showed that a few of these genes are indeed causal, but also a lot of them associate with one pathway, which is called the Notch pathway. What this means for therapy is that basically these mutations might be very rare in these patients, but then all of them basically cause through the same mechanism cancer, so that can be an avenue for future therapy development. In the future, Daniel is planning to extend this work on other cancer types and also combine this with immunotherapy. What I really enjoyed about talking to Daniel, that he's a true scientist at heart. So he enjoys most working with all his trainees and getting a lot of data in on many different questions that he's interested in. So overall, this is very impressive work, great career ahead of him, and many, many congratulations. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Daniel Schramk. I'm really honored to be selected as this year's Astina Junior Principal Investigator Awardee. I was asked to say a few words about myself and our work, but before I do that, I really wanted to take this opportunity to thank Astina and especially all the people behind the scene that organize all the activities of Astina. This is a really fantastic network which allows us Austrian scientists working in North America, that is the US, Canada, and Mexico, to conduct research, to foster interaction scientifically and socially, and most importantly, bond with Austria. There's also a new mentoring program where old folks like me are allowed to advise and help some of the younger postdocs who just came to North America, like I did about 10 years ago. I think my career is quite prototypic for many of the Austrian expat scientists and nicely shows how international science has become and why Astina is so important. I myself was born and raised in Vienna, studied molecular biology at the University of Vienna, went to Australia, Sydney for my master thesis for almost 2 years, went back to Vienna to do my PhD with Josef Penninger at the IMBA, and then conducted my postdoctoral research with Elaine Fuchs at the Rockefeller University in New York. I then accepted a job at the Lunenfeld-Tannenbaum Research Institute at Mount Sinai Hospital here in Toronto, where I'm currently actually sitting in my office. I'm working here as a principal investigator and had a lab of about 15 people full of postdocs, graduate students, and technicians. And we're all working on various aspects of cancer. More specifically, we're working on the factors that cause cancer and those that can be targeted to combat cancers of the breast, the head and neck, the brain, and the pancreas. I also hold a Canadian research chair and I'm assistant professor at the Department of Molecular Genetics at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Toronto. So all in all, I'm here in North America since about 10 years, and I can tell you that time flies by. I started as a bachelor in New York, and now I'm married to a wonderful wife, Nora, and we have 3 wonderful kids who right now, because of COVID, stay with us 24/7. Those of you with kids understand what I'm trying to say here. Anyway, the work for which we got awarded focuses on head and neck cancer, and I thought I will give you a brief overview of what we found. Every year, 350,000 people die of head and neck cancer, making it the 6th most common cancer. While awareness is generally low, it causes similar amount of deaths as does breast cancer. Head and neck cancer is linked to alcohol and smoking, as well as HPV infections due to unprotected oral sex, making it one of the few cancers with rising incidences, especially in young women. Head and neck cancer arises in the oral and nasal cavity when cells accumulate mutations in genes that usually tell cells to stop growing, also called tumor suppressor genes. When tumor suppressor genes are mutated, cells can start dividing uncontrollably and eventually form a tumor. Sequencing studies have identified hundreds of mutated genes, but we don't know which ones are the real tumor suppressor genes and which ones are non-important bystanders. My lab tries to figure out which of these genes are really driving cancer. As these experiments are not possible in humans, we have turned to the mouse as our experimental system. To do this, we disrupt genes that we think may be important in human cancers in a mouse model using CRISPR-Cas9 gene editing. CRISPR-Cas9 acts as a molecular scissor that cuts DNA, thereby disrupting a target gene. This method therefore allows us to disrupt genes we see mutated in patients and test their role in our mice. We do this on a huge scale, generating thousands of little clones, each with a different disrupted gene. These mice develop tumors, which we can then sequence to figure out which gene triggered tumor development. The most amazing result of this study was that the genes that can trigger head and neck cancer are not independent, but all funnel into the same specific pathway, the Notch signaling pathway. Now, this has two implications. First, that the immense complexity we see in cancer might actually be much more simple than we thought. There might be hundreds of mutations, but if they all do the same thing, there's simplicity in terms of altered networks. Secondly, if this is really the prevalent pathway in head and neck cancer, does this mean we can potentially drug this pathway and help 70 to 80% of head and neck cancer patients? And this is something we're trying to work on right now. With this, I would really like to thank the people in the lab who did the work, our national and international collaborators, and Astina for this very prestigious award. Thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Sonja Scholz, and I'm joining you from the Asina Greater Washington, D.C. chapter today. I have the distinct pleasure of introducing the ARIT 2020 Young Scientist Award winner, Dr. Martin Preuss. Dr. Preuss is a molecular biologist from Hohenems in Vorarlberg. He currently works as a project scientist within the prestigious lab of Dr. Jonathan Gleason at the University of California in San Diego. Dr. Preuss is being recognized for his outstanding work on the molecular genetics of autism spectrum disorders, or ASDs. It's been recognized for quite some time that many children with ASD carry so-called Denovo mutations, which are genetic changes that are only present in the child, but not in its parents. Interestingly, these mutations typically occur in the genetic material that is passed on from the father to the child. Moreover, if a couple already has a child with autism spectrum disorder due to a de novo mutation, the risk for having another child with ASD is higher than what would be expected just by chance. And one possible hypothesis is that there might be mosaicism in the germline of the father. Mosaicism basically means that there are some cells that carry the pathogenic mutations while others are not affected. And to test this hypothesis, Dr. Preuss and his colleagues performed whole genome sequencing and bioinformatic analysis on sperm samples from fathers of children with ASD. And indeed, they were able to find that many of them actually had mosaicism for the pathogenic mutation. Furthermore, they were able to stratify their cohort into those with high versus low risk of recurrence based on the fraction of germline cells that were affected. And this is, of course, immediately clinically relevant, as it can help with counseling of couples that already have a child with ASD as to what their possible recurrence risk is. Aside from these scientific accolades, Dr. Preuss is also very well known as a great mentor, having mentored and supervised over a dozen of young scientists who are standing on his shoulders today. When he's not at work, he likes to play basketball or roam through the streets of San Diego, where he particularly enjoys the culinary aspects of his new city. According to him, if you're ever visiting San Diego, make sure to check out the Mexican and Chinese restaurants there. Before we zoom in over to him, please join me in congratulating him on the ARIT 2020 Young Scientist Award.
A single sperm cell contains around 3 billion bases, the instructive letters of our genetic alphabet, and these encode the developmental blueprint for how to make a human and complex organs like the brain. All it takes is to change one single letter of this code, and this can cause severe birth defects such as heart disease, epilepsy, or disorders like autism. I was fascinated by this simple yet complex genetic logic ever since I learned about what genes are in high school in Vorarlberg. As a short interjection, no, contrary to public belief in Vienna, we do not need to know how to ski to get to school in winter. In either case, this exposure to genetics motivated me to study molecular biology in Vienna and ultimately to start a PhD program. Under the fantastic mentorship of David Kies at the IMP in Vienna, I was able to combine my interests in the brain and genetics by modeling human birth defects in mice. While I was aware that our work helped to understand human disease, this work was much more driven by my pure scientific curiosity than anything else. During my postdoc, I shifted my focus more towards the human genetics of disease rather than the functional implications for development. My mentor here in San Diego, Joe Gleason, is an accomplished human geneticist, and he has a defined mission due to this background in pediatric neurology. 1. Identify the genetic origin that makes a child sick, and 2. Use this knowledge to prevent or cure where possible. You can see here some of the many files of patients that our lab is working on. Most of these are recessive familial cases of disease, where children inherit 2 defective copies of a gene. This inheritance pattern is often found in consanguineous marriages, where the parents are related by blood. This is more common in some areas of the world, such as the Middle East. However, we also work on sporadic, non-inherited disorders, such as some epilepsies caused by defective brain development. These are more prevalent in Western countries like the US and Austria. All the cases we work on have one thing in common though: they affect the central nervous system. What, however, motivated my work on sperm mosaicism then, which is arguably quite different from the core interest of the lab? Actually, the topic was so exotic to the lab that it resulted in the nickname Sperm Guy and the gift of this little mascot by a friend. If we see a biological family unit of a mother and a father and their children, one of the most traumatic experiences such a family can have is the diagnosis of a severe congenital disorder. While this poses unique challenges to each family, they normally have one question in common: what is the risk of having a recurrence of this disease in another child? In some cases, like the aforementioned recessive disorders, we can use Mendelian genetics to understand recurrence. For the sporadic disorders, like some forms of autism, this is more challenging, as recurrence is generally low, but not easily quantified for each family. I wanted to address this issue and hypothesize that this generally low risk of recurrence might be a result of many families without any risk and some families with high risk. The easiest way to look at this is by quantifying mutations in the sperm of fathers, and indeed we were able to demonstrate that risk can be stratified into a majority with no risk and a minority with moderate to high risk of recurrence. This information can not only help affected families, but also holds the potential for sporadic disease prevention. I'm a basic scientist at heart, but this additional impact that our work can have on these families is highly gratifying. I still have interest in and projects on the development of the brain, but this area that was quite new to me really allowed me to find a more direct link between my work and actual real-life impact. I am humbled to receive the 2020 Young Scientist Award today. I want to use this opportunity to thank individuals and organizations that have supported me. I received generous funding from EMBO and the Austrian Science Fund in the form of a Schrödinger Stipendium that enabled me to undertake this adventure on a different continent. I also had support from my mentors David Kies and Joseph Gleason, and my additional mentor here in San Diego for this project, Jonathan Sebat. I am grateful for the environment at UC San Diego that allowed me to start and finish a new project. And my friends and colleagues such as Golyang and Xiaoshu here in the picture that provided me with a more than enjoyable experience and motivated me to do my best every day. I also want to thank my parents, Waltraud and Armin, and my wife, Catherine, who were always supporting and loving, and who are always there for me to lean on. Thank you.
My name is Christine Marisi, and I represent the Asina Greater New York chapter. Today, I'm honored to present you the 2020 Young Scientist Awardee, Dr. Thomas Polster. Growing up in Eastern Styria, Thomas spent much of his youth reading. As a true book nerd, he was a regular at the local library, where he at one point discovered the philosophy section. This made him thinking about philosophy in general, and the big question emerged: how should we actually live, morally and ethically? Thomas went on to study philosophy at the University of Graz, where he graduated in 2015 with highest distinctions. An Erwin Schrödinger Fellowship by the Austrian Science Fund allowed him to visit the psychology department of the College of Charleston in the United States for 11 months. There, his work with Dr. Jennifer Wright set the foundation to several groundbreaking publications around moral realism. Outside of the institution, Thomas eagerly collaborated with others on refining his table tennis skills. Word has it that he won the College of Charleston Table Tennis Championship in 2018. Thomas also seems to enjoy traveling. He was a visiting scholar at several high-level institutions in Canada, Israel, the United States, Japan, and Brazil. But in the end, he is always happy to return home. Currently, Thomas is researcher and lecturer of practical philosophy at the Department of Philosophy, University of Graz. He is thinking about intergenerational climate justice and basic needs, a research project supported by the Austrian Science Fund. Congratulations, Thomas, and we are looking forward to learning more about your research in your own words.
Think of a philosopher. What is the first picture that comes to your mind? Chances are, I think, that the first picture somewhat looks like this. You're thinking of some old man sitting in a comfortable chair surrounded by a lot of books. He does not carry test tubes. He does not look through a microscope. He does not look through a telescope. He tries to solve problems by pure thinking. I've been interested in philosophical questions from a very early age on, I think. When later on I decided to go to the university and I learned more about philosophy, I relatively quickly began to struggle with this image of philosophy as something that you do from the armchair, that is distinct from the sciences. So I was extremely pleased when I found out about a recent trend in philosophy, the trend of incorporating empirical evidence into philosophical arguments. In my PhD thesis, which is this obscenely heavy thing here, I applied this new methodology to a particular philosophical question, the question of moral objectivity. Now, think of any moral question. For instance, is eating meat morally permissible? There are two ways of thinking about the status of this question. So-called moral objectivists believe that for any moral question, there is one single correct answer, an answer that is the same for every person in every culture. Moral subjectivists, on the other hand, regard moral truths as relative to individuals or culture. So, on this view, it is possible that eating meat is not morally permissible for me or for us in our culture, but it is morally permissible for other people or for people in other cultures. In my PhD thesis, I mainly considered scientific studies about this question of moral objectivity that had already been conducted. The natural next step for me was to try to get involved in scientific research of this kind myself. For this purpose, I applied for an Erwin Schrödinger Fellowship by the Austrian Science Fund, which eventually brought me to the wonderful city of Charleston in South Carolina. In Charleston, I had the pleasure of working with one of the leading experts in this intersection between ethics and psychology, namely the psychologist Jen Wright. In our paper Anti-Realist Pluralism, Jen and I were particularly interested in how lay people without philosophical training, think about this question of moral objectivity. Our results were pretty surprising, I think. Philosophers have always thought that lay people very much tend towards the objectivist side of things. In fact, however, it turned out that at least with the particular sample that we surveyed, people in the US, they were very much drawn towards moral subjectivism. They considered morality to be relative to individuals or to cultures. Now, I think that this result is pretty fascinating from a psychological point of view, but it could also have very important philosophical implications. In particular, it could support the conclusion that when it comes to objectivity, morality is indeed some kind of mixed bag. There could be these objective constraints, things that have to do with human rights or basic needs maybe, but within these constraints, morality could be a vast landscape of subjectivity. In any case, I'm very grateful and happy about the acknowledgement that our research receives today. And I would like to thank everybody who has supported this research and my studies. First and foremost, my family, my wonderful colleagues at the Department of Philosophy at the University of Graz, and last but not least, of course, my co-author, Jen. Finally, I would also like to thank all of the people who were involved in organizing this great prize and great event, and Christina for introducing me. Thank you very much.
Congrats to Daniel, Martin and Thomas for your impressive work for which you received the 2020 Astina Awards. Now in its 13th year, the Astina Awards have evolved to a prime Austrian Research and Science Award. And this year's awards are a great testament to the excellence of research being conducted by up-and-coming scientists and scholars from Austria and North American institutions. We are especially proud that we have had the highest ever number of submissions, also in terms of diversity of disciplines and gender. Although I would have loved to celebrate a woman awardee today, we are looking back on 13 years of strong science by women having been awarded with the Astina Awards thus far. And we will continue to work hard to promote and support equity in research and science, including programs such as the Astina Mentoring Program and the Astina Awards. I would like to therefore invite you, if you are an Austrian scientist or scholar conducting research in North America, to join us at asina.at and contribute to our community, which is really driven by our members in our 13 chapters all over the US, Mexico and Canada. At this point, I would like to express my profound gratitude and thanks to the BMBWF and the FWF for supporting this award over the years, and especially the OSTA team led by Simone Pötscher and Robin Weiss for putting together this wonderful celebration. With that, over to you, Simone.
Dear RINA members.
Dear Astina members.
Dear Austrian science, research, technology and innovation stakeholders.
Thank you for joining us today for the virtual ARIT 2020.
We are excited by the scientific work that was presented today.
We are proud of what all of you accomplish on a daily basis, despite the challenges the current pandemic brings.
The Austrian Research and Innovation Talk has always put you and your innovative work first.
It was established to connect Austrian students, scientists, researchers, educators and innovators who spent part of their career in North America with each other, as well as the scientific community at home.
While we did not get to meet in person this year, this virtual ARIT has allowed us to share and celebrate your science and your achievements with your peers.
We cherish the exchange, and we cannot wait to meet again in person next year.
We will share details about the ARIT 2021 as soon as possible.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great afternoon.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good day.
Stay safe, stay healthy, and have a good evening.
We would like to thank you for supporting and celebrating Austrian scientists in North America today. Events like these are impossible without strong partners. Take a moment to thank our supporters in the chat window. Thank you for joining us for the 2020 ARIT.